And we are back. It is February 11th, afternoon, my time here on the East Coast of the United States. My name is Logan, and I am on a mission to implement decentralized governance into the fabric of society. I'm here with my friend and co-founder, Justin. How's it going?
What's up, everyone? Going good. Glad to be on another live stream here today.
Yep. So it's a packed docket today, and we're going to be getting into the thick of it. One of the things we've been doing as a DREP is to get intimately in the know about the Cardano budget process, because we know that the hard fork just happened, governance is online, we're voting on the Constitution now. Next up is the net change limit. And what happens? So we have this treasury. We need to use it to help the ecosystem grow. So what does that process look like? And in particular, we're going to dive into the Intersect budget process, which is where we have been doing a lot of learning and research. And we want to just disseminate this information to our delegators and to the broader Cardano community so everyone understands what is going on all these calls with Intersect committees and what's the tendering process like. So we're going to start there. The Cardano budget. So from a high level, we have this treasury. I think it has like 1.5 billion ADA in it. And we, as the community, ADA holders, get to decide how this treasury is used. So the first big thing that we have to decide is the net change limit. This is the maximum amount of ADA or value that can come out of the treasury each budget period. So each year, essentially. So I know a number that's been floated around has been 350 million. This is approximately how much revenue the Cardano protocol actually generates each year. So that's the thinking behind this is we keep it either, even, our spending even with what we make each year, or we even run a surplus if we can use these funds to increase the transactions on the network and get more users. Now, once this net change limit passes, anyone can submit a treasury withdrawal proposal. You have to have 100,000 ADA, I believe that is the requirement. But really, if you have that, anyone can go in and request funding from the treasury. And this could be different MBOs, different groups of people, different groups of developers. And I'm sure as time goes on, we're going to see more and more different types of entities and groups come to request funds from the treasury for different reasons. But the biggest player right now, I'm sure as many people know, in requesting funds from the treasury is Intersect. Now, Intersect is an organization that's built of the Cardano community member, and for the last year and a half or so, they have been focused on taking on the risk and taking on the responsibility and picking up the shovel in order to make this budget process actually happen this year. And a big reason why should the community trust Intersect? It's not perfect. Their budget that they're going to release soon, maybe even today, may not be perfect, but it will have a lot of good things about it. But what Intersect does provide is a tendering process that can give trust to the community, knowing that, okay, if the funds go to Intersect, there's going to be a transparent, auditable process where you can see how the funds are spent, where they're going to, what's been accomplished with these funds. So let's talk about this end-to-end procurement process. So the first thing to understand before we dive into kind of the steps of this process is understanding how Intersect works. And Intersect works with a lot of committees. So there's different committees that have different responsibilities and goals and visions and kind of mandates that they want to accomplish with their committee. So first, we have the Intersect Steering Committee. This actually won't be a committee that requests funding. Really what this committee is the secretaries and chairs of each of the other committees come together in this committee in order to make sure there's organizational alignment. And then we have the Cardano Civics Committee. And the Civics Committee upholds standards that will ensure Cardano governance is accessible, fair, and transparent. They will be requesting a budget. We also have the Membership and Community Committee. This is the committee that helps to educate and grow Intersect membership and the Cardano community. And it also provides innovation grants. So the membership and community committee is where Catalyst lies, and potentially other Catalyst competitors that come to fruition as well. And then we have the technical steering committee. This is the committee that will request funding in order to make sure that the core infrastructure that makes Cardano secure, reliable, and functioning is funded. And then you have the open source committee, which is the committee that funds open source development initiatives, maintenance, and education. You also have the budget committee, and this is the committee that decides the high-level budget for the ecosystem by making these buckets and by working with other committees to understand their needs and goals. And then we also have the product committee. This committee, really what they do is they break down Cardano's vision and roadmap in order to create a roadmap that they can help build products that accomplish these goals and missions. And then we have it's actually not a committee yet, but it has been a working group for a long time. And this is the marketing working group, or hopefully soon the marketing committee. And really this committee is the committee that will receive funding, and they will use it to make sure Cardano has a presence at every single major event. They will give grants to founders in the ecosystem so that they can host satellite events, and they will make sure that marketing initiatives will have a place to look for funding for the ecosystem. So that's the general makeup of the committees. There's 8 of them. If you take out the first one I talked about, which is the steering committee, you have 7 committees that will all be releasing budgets very soon. So that's the high level. So the funds, if the Treasury proposal passes, so there's going to be 5 different Treasury proposals for 5 different buckets. If the Treasury proposal passes, these funds will go to Intersect. And once they get to Intersect, the important thing is to understand what happens from there. So in order to get funds from Intersect, it starts before the projects even apply for funding. So it starts with a business requirement submission. And what you can think of is this is an RFP that is created by the committee. So a request for proposal. So committees come together, they say, hey, we need, a voting tool for the Cardano Constitutional Convention. And then people like us in the community can come throw our hat in the ring and see if we can get that funding, because we have the expertise to be able to deliver on the request for proposal. So first, the committee comes up with the RFP that they need finished. And then next, it goes to the application form and evaluation framework. So essentially what that means is operational services work with the committee to get the final draft of the RFP. And operational services, whenever I say that, that means Intersect staff, okay? So Intersect is going to have staff on demand that will be working hard to ensure transparency and accountability for every single budget that comes into the organization. So the Intersect staff and the committee work together to finalize a draft of the RFP. Then we move to the next phase, which is the operational services review. The Intersect staff finalizes the RFP and approves it. And after that happens, you have the invitation to tender. Okay, so this is put out to the community and Intersect members, and anyone is able to come in and apply for the request for proposal that came out. Once people apply, the proposals are obtained, and keep in mind, this is the step-by-step process that Intersect has laid out in order to properly allocate and steward Treasury funds. So after all of the proposals are obtained, they get put into a list, and then they move on to proposal evaluation. So subject matter experts are brought into the review situation here, and they score and assess all of the proposals to find the best supplier for the information. Then you have the confirmation of the preferred supplier. So the operational services recommend the best vendors to the committee in order to complete this RFP. And then we move to committee ratification, which is one of the final steps here, where the committee says, okay, we've decided on this vendor. We know they can deliver it. we're going to approve this and start the process of actually signing the contract, getting it signed, and having the RFP and contract initiated. Now, from there, Intersect will use a milestone-based funding, very similar to the, in most cases, they'll use milestone-based funding, very similar to the how it works in Project Catalyst, where projects outline milestones. Once they complete those milestones, they continue to get their funding. But that's a high level of the whole process. Remember, Intersect is just one organization that can request funding from the Treasury. There will be more. Intersect might get a lot of budget in the first year, and then, if it works, maybe we keep with it as the community. If we need to adjust, there can be other people come in and new mechanisms to govern Treasury funds and their allocation that come in. But yeah, that's the high level. I'll pause there, Justin. After that spiel, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the key thing to me is what you highlighted at the end there, which is that, this is V1 of Cardano governance. So I know there's obviously not everybody is going to be completely satisfied with how everything works, but obviously a lot of time and effort and planning has gone into getting this to where it is right now. That's not to say that there can't be any criticism, but I do think that giving people the benefit of the doubt here and starting with something to then look back on and review come next year, once we've had a year to implement this and really see, okay, we actually, as a decentralized government, we're able to implement these policies and affect these outcomes and not affect other outcomes that we would have liked to have. I think that gives us a lot better footing to have this debate and conversation this time again next year. So I think that we're supportive of it in the fact that it's a starting place. It allows projects to continue to build on Cardano like us. And I think that, we can always reevaluate after next year. This is not set in stone how Cardano will always work. And I think it's good for where we are as we sit today here on February 11th, 2025.
Yeah, I mean, no one's ever done this before, right? It's literally the first time a decentralized government has been launched at this scale. You have people on every continent. You have so many different builders. And the thing I like about it is it truly is an open process. Like, there are tenders put out there, and if you want to, you can go apply to get funding. And it's going to be ultra competitive. I think me and Justin have seen that firsthand. Even if you think you can do a great job on something, someone else might get chosen and they'll do a great job on it too. And that's the beauty of a decentralized ecosystem. But yeah, just to reiterate, we need to keep the mindset that this is the first version of it. We will improve it. We will continue to make it more decentralized. We will discover better processes. My bet is we will implement AI into a lot of different facets of this decentralized budgeting process in order to get the optimal outcomes for our ecosystem. So it's a great starting point. Is it perfect? No. Is there good things about it? Yes. So it's a good place to start. In my opinion, there's no better organization than Intersect in terms of their positioning and standing in the community to carry out this gargantuan task. They have all the infrastructure in place. And the most dangerous thing I think that we can do as the Cardano community is to not pass budget. There's hundreds, thousands of projects in the ecosystem. There's a ton of different infrastructure that needs to be funded in order to remain functional. And we have to make bets, and I think this is a great bet to make. And even with the net change limit being the same amount as what is produced in the year, I think it'll put us in a good situation to build those apps that onboard 1 million, build those apps that onboard 1 billion, discover real world use cases across thousands of different projects in the Cardano ecosystem. So we just got to keep going. So that's kind of the topic that was most pressing and I think is important to educate the Cardano community on. I tried to give a quickish summary of it. The calls you sit on when this is being discussed last a lot longer. If you have further questions about it, feel free to reach out to me, to Justin, you can hop in our Discord, whatever it is. But let's move on to the next topic here. Justin, what's going on with Indigo and Clarity?
Yeah, so after a bit of custom development work that we've done for Indigo over the last couple weeks, we're moving governance action through their existing process to move some of their early steps of governance onto Clarity. So just to explain a little bit behind the scenes of what we did to get that set up, basically we set up a custom chain indexer that's able to peek at their staking endpoint and see who is staked to the Indigo platform. That's able to then pipe in governance power in the Clarity platform. So a cool little bespoke piece of infrastructure that we worked together to build. But yeah, excited to have Indigo finally up and running soon here on the Clarity platform.
Yeah, that'll be cool. And I know that it's, in my opinion, a really big improvement over things like Discourse, which you can kind of spam and create a bunch of accounts. And, with Clarity being a Cardano native solution, you can have proper membership gating. You can have custom vote calculations. You can have all these different types of governance actions. So we think that, hey, if you're a Cardano project and you're on Discourse, let's chat. I think we can come up with a better solution for your off-chain governance needs, and on-chain governance if that's something you need as well. So before we move on to the next topic, I'm going to throw in some community questions for you here, Justin, and this one is a good one. Can you provide more details on the upcoming milestones for Clarity DAO, especially involving liquid democracy capabilities and the Clarity API?
Yeah, so just to touch on liquid democracy capabilities, right now we are in the final phases of implementing our delegation feature through Agora. So basically, just like in Cardano, you delegate to D-reps and they vote on your behalf. You can change that delegation at any time. We're coming out with similar features for Agora voting. So for the on-chain functionality that our app has, you'll be able to delegate your vote away. So that will be a very exciting update and kind of, like I mentioned, mimicking what exists in Cardano right now. As far as the Clarity API goes, some updates there. We will be rolling out some early endpoints here soon, mainly just around allowing organizations to pull in information from Clarity. So think of active proposals happening, things like that. That'll be easy and quick on the checklist of things to do that we can get out there and get in people's hands to get them testing soon. So if you are an organization that's interested in implementing some of these Clarity APIs, definitely get a hold of us and we'd be happy to include you on our list of early users to give feedback on how that all goes. But yeah, just to peek into the future of what that looks like, not only will you be pulling information from the Clarity database through the APIs, like the active proposals or, quests or anything like that, but you'll also be able to push to them. So that includes creating proposals, that includes casting votes, anything that you want to integrate into your platform directly. We are going to be opening up the gates to allow you to do that. So super exciting stuff there. And I think that it will increase the activity on Clarity by a bunch, also by not limiting it to people using it just through the Clarity platform.
Yeah. So a lot of the questions we received this week are surrounding our roadmap, which I think it's probably worth to talk about. And then we can get into more of the questions. So we launched our DREP. We launched the blockchain governance product. So this is a product that takes in votes and then puts them on chain, whether it's for a government or it's for a senate of an educational institution or it's for a corporate board. That's what that one does. There was a question that says, are we going to rename it because it's such a bland name? They suggested Clear Vote. They suggested Verigov. So maybe we have some rethinking, some branding to do there. But yeah, we literally just called it what it was to start, and then we'll see what we come up with later. And then we have the playbook for creation of SEC exempt DAOs on Cardano. This was a project we did with Goki. That's out. So if you're interested in building a compliant DAO, whether you want to use a DAO to buy land or you want to use a DAO to invest in assets, we got a playbook for you. It literally lays it out step by step of what you need to do in order to do it. Justin chatted about the Clarity APIs, opening up the functionality that's on the Clarity platform to be able to be done in any interface. The ambassador program, I'm not going to talk about that now. I'll talk about it a little later. We got DREP governance. This is going to launch very soon, right, Justin? That's going to be next few weeks here.
Yeah, so to talk about that, maybe it would be helpful to talk about the SPO governance, which we're releasing here soon. So basically, these two will work super similarly, but this adds an endpoint to the Clarity platform where right now a lot of our votes are, well, all of our votes are either one member, one vote, or they're Cardano native asset weighted. So depending on how many of a certain token you hold in your wallet, that will give you power in a governance vote on Clarity. This adds another endpoint to that, which allows you to grant voting power to members of your organization based on how much stake they have, either in your stake, delegated to your stake pool, or in the case of the DREP, delegated to you as a DREP. So we'll be able to see how much ADA a member has delegated to the organization. And then there's also a cool feature where you can add a time bonus. So if that user has delegated for over, say, 5 epochs, you could give them double the power, for instance. So that's kind of a cool additional way to gamify not only amount staked, but time staked in your organization.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think we have the SPO one done. That's going to be pushed to mainnet probably today or tomorrow, right?
Yep. SPO
So,
coming this week, and then waiting on one endpoint to get the DREP up and running as well. So should be here pretty soon.
So these are catalyst proposals, and one of the things that we have to do in order to close out these catalyst proposals is get your feedback. So if you are an SPO, please reach out. We would be super thankful that you reached out and could test this out for us with your community members and just give us a little feedback so that we can continue to iterate on these. Same for the DREPs. I think this is going to be super important for DREPs. Because as a DREP, you need to be transparent. You need to understand the pulse of your delegators. And I think the best DREPs that continuously people trust will use tooling like this. So then we're moving into the liquid democracy capability. We already talked about that one. You'll be able to delegate your vote, have liquid democracy for your DAO on Clarity. DAO treasury swaps. This should be coming hopefully by the end of the month. That is the goal. But you'll be able to create an on-chain proposal. So if your DAO approves it, it can swap ADA to your favorite token, whether it's Iagon, Indy, all these different awesome projects out there that you want to diversify your treasury with. You'll be able to do that. And as we go to the next one, so these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're hoping these are all accomplished by the end of the month. So we'll be cranking along this roadmap here. The next few I'm talking about are probably a little harder. They're more business development milestones, less so technical. And I think oftentimes in roadmaps, these are kind of ignored. So I figured I'd add a few of them there as kind of the person who leads the business development at Clarity. But the first one is educational institution case study. So we're actually working with a Senate of an educational institution so that they can use their all their votes can be stored on chain and everyone can have access to them and see them and all this type of stuff. So we're working hard on that one. Hopefully it comes to fruition soon here. And then we got a sports organization case study. We've been very close with this one a handful of times, honestly, close with a few MLS clubs, even talked to some clubs in Europe on the soccer side. But there's a lot of leads here. that we're going to be exploring, and even as part of the ambassador program, which I'll talk about in a second here. There are some very qualified people coming into the Clarity Ambassador program that have deep connections in the sports industry and understand the value of operating a decentralized community on Clarity. So we'll see what happens there. HOA case study. I'm actually joining the board of my HOA, I think next week. So scrapping together this case study, I'm going to try to get my community to vote for decisions and the board of the HOA to make decisions, because right now it's pretty outdated, as you can imagine. Then we got the multi-sig. This is also a Catalyst proposal with fluid tokens and mesh. We'll be on our way there. I think, Justin, when you think about this multi-signature integration, as the kind of head of product, what are you thinking about? What's an early implementation and where could it go?
Yeah, so I think the point of the multi-sig is really going all the way back to the 9 phases of DAOification that we talk about. So, while in our case, we want to be on the bleeding edge of blockchain governance and lean all the way into a DAO, a lot of these people that we're talking to that are more anchored in the real world are less eager to put all of their treasury in a smart contract. So something like a multi-sig is an awesome kind of intermediate step that allows people to move towards being more and more on the blockchain. So I think that, basically this will link in nicely with our governance. So you'll be able to see governance actions directly tied to multi-signature transactions. So I think it's going to be a really nice end-to-end kind of solution that we offer, again, some of those intermediate level blockchain clients.
Yeah, the 9 phases of DAOification. If you haven't seen that video, I recommend watching it if you're a DAO junkie. We've done a lot of thinking the last few years about how people go from one person with an idea to an actual decentralized autonomous organization, and I'm pretty sure it's 9 phases that we have in there. But yeah, it's continuously evolving, but it's a great framework to think about DAO adoption in general. So then we have the Clarity SDK. What is the difference between the Clarity API and the Clarity SDK?
The Clarity SDK will just be packaged up a little bit nicer and include just some more type-friendly components that people can interact with. So a little more out of the box, ready to use. But the nice part about the APIs is you can still accomplish a lot of the same things, and it's a little bit more flexible depending on your specific implementation.
Got it. And then we have the state government case study. We're working hard on this one too. We will see what happens. It could come to fruition. I have confidence that it will. We are working on a proposal to build a DAO registry for New Hampshire. There will be other states looking at DAOs too, so maybe we can do it with another state as well. We're also getting our foot in the door with the blockchain governance product to think about actually recording votes of Congress people in states or citizens in states on chain. So we'll see what comes of that. But in terms of a good use case for blockchain and where transparency is needed, I think the state government is a great use case. And then to wrap up, we have a Midnight or Agora V2 milestone here. This may not fit into this year. We'll see. But we know the value of privacy, which is why we are very interested in integrating with Midnight. And then with our current DAO framework that we use, Agora, we see a few improvements that could be made to create Agora V2. So Justin, you want to talk about Agora V2 and what ideas we have for it?
Yeah, a lot of them are around just current limitations on governance tokens in Agora V1. So to name a few of those, you can't have an NFT as a governance token. You're only limited to one governance token at a time. So definitely want to knock out being able to not only use an NFT, but use maybe multiple NFTs with different weights of voting, just like you do right now in the snapshot version of the Clarity app. But give those on-chain guarantees. So that is definitely one aspect of Agora that I think many of our current users have experienced in participating in on-chain governance and setting up their own that we're constantly getting requests to support. So personally, I'm probably the most excited about kind of that aspect of Agora V2. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out. We will be, I'm guessing, submitting some more thorough explanations as far as all of the ideas that we have to improve the current framework of Agora, potentially looking into submitting that as a Catalyst proposal. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I mean, the more DAO frameworks, the merrier. And I think, having multiple assets would be a huge unlock. The ability to use NFTs would be a huge unlock. I know we looked at like Moloch DAOs too with the rage quit feature and stuff like that. So there's definitely more DAO frameworks to come in Cardano. I know a few are being worked on right now. Clarity will make sure that, as long as they're open source, we can integrate them and make sure that the user has the choice of which DAO framework they want to make. Last topic here is the ambassador program. We were pretty surprised. I was certainly surprised. I opened up the application form and saw like 500 responses, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of interest. So thank you everyone who filled out an application. We are going to be selective in this, especially for the first cohort. We want to keep it small because we want to have deep relationships where we can iterate and create the best ambassador program with a good foundation from the early cohort here. So stay tuned for more news on the ambassador program. And one other thing with the ambassador program is we're going to be having our ambassadors take a course. And this course will teach all of the ins and outs of the Clarity platform and the blockchain governance product. We will discuss different types of use cases, the phases of DAOification, and really what it will do, this course, it will equip you with the knowledge and the know-how of how do you actually drive adoption of decentralized systems with Clarity. So super excited to get that out. It's going to actually be on Wisdom, which is a Cardano native learning platform that you can check out. Shout out to Rod, who's on the team there. And yeah, we're going to have the course on there. Anyone will be able to do it. It's not exclusively for ambassadors. I think, as we explained in the last AMA, was about how, look, the incentives are in place for all community members. The ambassador program is meant to create a tight feedback loop between people who are actively really trying to sell Clarity and drive adoption of Clarity. But these incentives for people are in place. If you refer a DAO that gets a sizable treasury, you're rewarded for it, whether you're an ambassador or not. So that's about it on the ambassador front. Justin, what's your thoughts on just what's happening in the world right now with Doge, with all this different, treasury spending drama, and how does that feed into your love of blockchain and what's going to happen here in the next decade?
Yeah, I think it's definitely very interesting that there's so much work that needs to be done to make the government spending transparent and auditable. So I think anybody listening to this call knows of a pretty good solution to make financial spending transparent and auditable. So yeah, excited for Charles to have his important conversation later this month. But yeah, I think all of that to say, we definitely see a world where putting these systems on a blockchain, whether it's government spending or voting, increases trust and increases security. So I think that we are super optimistic about the future of blockchain systems in our social and economic systems. It's crazy that this is kind of like all the attention is on transparent governance systems right now. So hopefully crypto can make its case for how it can solve a lot of these problems that's facing, one of the biggest and most powerful countries in the world.
Yeah, and it's not just the United States, right? This could be implemented, and it's kind of always, why we've been into blockchain. It's like we were like, wait, this is a better record keeping system, so why wouldn't important information that everyone needs to know be on it? And it's like we live in this timeline where it's the front of mind. Like you're seeing billions of dollars flush down the toilet because it's not transparent. And it's like, hey, this is why we're here. Let's put these finances on blockchain. So super interested to see how it unfolds for sure. So any more comments? I'm gonna read a few more community questions because we had a bunch submitted, and I want to get to some of them. Okay. I would like to know how Clarity plans to integrate with Web3 projects.
Yeah, so we obviously, like Logan touched on earlier, have the Sunday Swap integration that's coming right now. So that will allow DAO treasuries to directly call Sunday smart contracts and trade tokens in their treasury. Really, the beauty of Agora is it's super extensible. So anything that can be expressed as a smart contract can be run as an Agora effect. So that can run as a result of an Agora proposal passing a DAO vote. So yeah, whether that's lending or borrowing or trading, whatever it is that you could plug into another interface to do, as long as there's APIs that allow our smart contracts to call them, really the sky is the limit. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing our part in continuing to innovate and create interesting and novel Agora effects that everybody using the Clarity platform and its tooling can hook into. But that's also part of the beauty of Agora is you can write your own smart contract effects. So any of these protocols that see a benefit in having DAOs be able to take actions on their platform could write an Agora effect and you could hook into that. So I think that we're still generally in the early days of DAOs on Cardano, but in a lot of cases in the future, I think that DAOs are potentially, the biggest whale clients that a lot of these protocols could have would be if a DAO is lending or borrowing or trading through their platform. So having those integrations, I think, is going to be super vital to having huge, customers in the future as DAOs continue to rack up more and more TVL on Cardano.
Yeah, and that's one thing that Agora V1 is great at is being extensible and being able to actually integrate with other DeFi projects, so that communities can actually leverage DAO's liquidity to do things. So that's pretty cool. Next question is, I would like to know current partnerships Clarity has partnered with. Well, I guess we have a lot of them. I probably won't be able to name all of them off the top of my head, but we work closely with MLabs for on-chain development. We work with Fluid Tokens and Mesh to develop this multi-sig wallet. We're working with Indigo in order to revamp their off-chain governance processes. We have Sunday, who we're integrating with, and they also hold their DAO treasury on the platform. There's Fluxpoint Studios, which made Talos, and they're a decentralized gaming studio that have a treasury on the platform. And there's going to be a handful of other real world partnerships that come out this year. I bet one of the most recurring questions that I've seen on the community AMA is, what are our KPIs? How are we going to measure ourselves if we accomplish these tasks on the roadmap? Okay, so what are we going to be measuring? And really, the answer is pretty simple to me, and it's users, TVL, and B2B deals that we land. Those are kind of my three North Star metrics that I'll be looking at throughout the year. Justin, do you have any other thoughts on kind of KPIs for us this year?
Yeah, I think all of those contribute to another underlying KPI, which is just transactions. So always trying to do our part in increasing the transactions on Cardano. I think that that's one of the biggest, existential threats to Cardano is this need to increase transaction count. So yeah, as more and more projects start to use blockchain governance and the whole ecosystem moves, forward into that kind of model, I think that we will definitely be doing our part to help increase the total number of transactions by putting all of this on chain.
Yeah, and there's one thing that's not on the roadmap that I hope happens this year, and that is a mobile app. So maybe we might have to add downloads to that. Working on seeing if that can feasibly happen for us, but we'll see soon. And yeah, that's a wrap for today. We've actually been chatting a good bit here. We're gonna get back to it, but Justin, any final thoughts?
No, thank you again for another week of tuning in, and yeah, no strategic Bitcoin reserve this week, so fingers crossed for next week.
Oh my gosh, so many states are gonna just start buying Bitcoin soon. All right, folks, strap in. 2025 is here. It's gonna be a good one. Let's keep driving adoption of decentralized governance. You know who we are. We can't stop. We won't stop. See you guys later.